You've got this big idea, but you don't know exactly what to do, and you don't have any money, and you don't have any experience, but you want to launch a product that everybody's going to love. Watch this video. Okay, everybody, Stephen Key. I'm back at inventRightTV, and we have a very unusual guest today, all the way from where are you located?
Central Florida in a small town called Edgewater.
Okay. Okay, so Captain Lee Noga. Noga?
Yes, yes.
Okay, you're a captain. Oh, wait. Okay, wait a minute. Let's go back. Before we get started, tell us a little bit about you and what you do.
Okay, I am a Coast Guard licensed boat captain since 2006.
Okay.
And as a female, that's odd because I don't wear a bikini well.
Okay.
And so I decided I would do it just to make a difference. And if I
Okay.
got the credential, maybe somebody would listen,
Okay.
you know?
All right. But you do something pretty unusual.
I do.
Yes, you do, because I watched some of your videos and I think I have a pretty good idea what you do. But you teach people to catch shrimp and other types of fish and things?
I do. But it's not quite that easy. What I've done is I took a sport that was struggling
Okay.
for 100 years and not supported by retail. They provided no gear. So we self-innovated and made them in the garage and we sold to other people that wanted to get into it. So we were unregulated,
All right.
self-taught, and I was tired of wasting my time because it had this stigma that it was an old person's sport and I was in my 40s.
Shrimping.
Yes. So unless you knew somebody that knew somebody that knew somebody, you couldn't have a conversation about the topic. So it turned out the emperor didn't have any clothes.
Okay.
And it really wasn't anything, it wasn't a big guarded secret. It wasn't this mysterious power. It was a sport of absolute ignorance and the belief in folklore passed down from one generation to another.
Okay.
So after suffering years and years of skunks, long story short, I realized that, wait a minute, the mechanics of the sport's backwards.
Hmm.
And I went on to prove the theories of science that now allow you to go out and be successful your first night. So this now woke up the millennials, Gen Z. It was no longer an old
No,
person sport.
no,
But when
no.
I did that and I deconstructed the sport just because of my excitement to share it without profiting, I absolutely woke up things that came unexpected.
Now,
And I'll let you go from there.
yeah, when I'm really kind of confused a little bit, I fish occasionally. Uh, I live up in Lake Tahoe. I do a little, the ocean rivers, maybe a little bit, but shrimping, is that called fishing? I mean, is that fishing?
I'm glad you brought that up. At the time I entered 20 years ago, it was the red-headed stepchild that had to sit in the back of the bus. The
Okay.
king was those that fished with hook and line. We were not recognized. Remember, I said
Okay.
retail carried no gear because we were a market that wasn't worth even acknowledging.
Okay.
But it was a lot bigger market than people knew.
Well, you guys, it's pretty big because we're going to show you up on the screen when the captain does a lecture. There's a lot of people in the room, okay, and there's a
It's
lot
pretty
of people.
popular. Yes,
Yeah, there's a lot of people that care about this, and I'm like, wait a minute,
there
I don't
is.
quite. The only thing I know about shrimping was a movie I watched years ago, and I think everybody watched it, right? So, but you're talking about doing it a little bit differently. You're talking about doing it in a river. Is it a river that you do it, or
No, it's saltwater on the
a
east coast of
saltwater?
Florida, and it's
Okay,
also done in South Florida,
okay,
and it's tidal water.
tidal water. Okay,
Hmm.
because you talked about finding where it's fairly narrow, right?
Correct.
I saw that too. I thought it was kind of interesting. But you give all the tips of how to be successful at shrimping, and you have a product that I saw that you actually show how it works, which is beautiful. But what was amazing to me is that I wasn't aware of that that light would attract the shrimp, right? And that's your product. Talk about your product and why it works and a little bit about that.
I will love it because you just walked into the perfect scenario that I fight, and that shrimp do not like light. So you just walked into that one. But this is what I've battled this for 80 years. That's what people believe.
Okay.
So don't make that bet in a bar.
Okay.
But you know what? Doesn't mean you're going to lose, because there are species that do like light.
Okay.
And we have one of them that run during the night, only because they accidentally came into an inlet in 2016 and they didn't belong this far south.
Okay.
But typically we catch them at night because that's when they run, not because that's when we want to do it.
Oh.
So I'm actually trying to exist in an environment, a marine environment, that cannot tolerate light. So let me ask
Wait.
you, how can you?
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
I knew it. I knew it.
Wait a minute. Wait. I don't understand it because your product is a light. Is a light,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
But they don't
Yes.
like the light.
Yes. So let me ask you,
All right.
how in the world can you coexist given the fact that they can't even process the full moon,
Okay.
let alone a mechanical light source man-made?
Okay.
So how do I exist in a dark marine environment and go home with 35 pounds of shrimp? The answer to that is how I present the light.
Hmm.
So if I know I can offend them, then that means that I can get them to make a movement based on trying to escape the light. And I'm
Oh.
able to raise them up into the water column using light. And above my light, it's pitch black. So it's pitch black, it's black. There's no light. They're happy. We see them, they don't see us.
Oh. So they're trying to avoid the light, but they
Yes.
allow you to see them because of the light.
Well, kind of, sort of. You're almost
Okay.
there. You're
Okay.
almost there. I do have a uh, 80 an 80 amp, excuse me, an 80 watt light in the water, or 40 watt. So that's a lot. But I do offend them at different water levels. And through one formula, through my research, you just have to remember one formula and get it in the right part of the water column that ensures
Okay.
everything above my light is unlit.
Got it.
So when you kind of anger them, you force them till they find that safety spot, which brings them in the upper part of the water column. So my light is backlighting them. They don't see it. You put a GoPro in it, it's black as the ace of spades, and they're just coming right to you, and you don't have to do anything but collect them.
So how did you figure this out? I mean, this sounds pretty
It's
scientific. Are you
it
an
is.
engineer? Are you
I am
also an
not.
engineer?
No, I'm a scorned woman that got tired of getting skunked. You know, because you know what? I would pass people going back to the ramp. And I would say, "How'd you do?" And they'd tell me, "I got 5 gallons, which is about 7 gallons a pound, 7 pounds a gallon. That's a
Okay.
lot of shrimp. I only got like 6." So you talk to the next boat, and they'll give you a different number, and you go, "They're lying." And you go by 5 boats, and I did the worst, so they're lying, right? But they weren't lying. What I found out is everybody I talked to got a different amount. Why is that?
Hmm.
So what I realized, the only thing that everybody does different is how they set their lights. So therefore,
Oh,
I knew that light and how you presented it impacts your outcome. So I
okay.
went out to prove that theory over 15 years, and I
Wow.
got a lot more than I asked for. And it
Okay.
absolutely deconstructed the sport, allowed me to reconstruct it using science. And it now is considered settled science, like settled law. This is the law of the land.
Now, because you've done something new, you have
Oh,
filed intellectual property on that. Is that correct?
I have one utility patent and 6 or 7 design. I've lost count. And I
That
think
many.
one pending, a lot,
So
a
you
lot.
protected. Who's helped you do that?
I could not have done this without QuickPatents, Kevin Prince, because I came to him messy. You know, you kind of
What do you
said it,
mean? What do you mean?
um, because I had acquired power. Back then, before social media, I put up a message board. I had back then
Mhm.
3,000 locals. That was a big deal. I was teaching, drawing diagrams, and I was
Okay.
teaching what science I knew at the time.
Okay.
Well, there was a coup in 2015, and basically they copied my message boards, all my topics, took my staff, rebuilt my light because there's no patents. Every time I brought out a new idea, they copied it like they were teaching it.
Oh.
And next thing you know, uh, they stripped me of everything I was known for to get rid of me. This was the coup of 2015. So they tried to do that so that they would break my power with the media. And then this was all coming from the person where my products that we made in the garage killed his sales. So this was anger driven, revenge driven towards me, and to dethrone
Okay.
me because now they said, oh, wait a minute, she's established that there's money here. So I knew that I had to walk away. When I did, I contacted a company in China. They said we would help you, but we have a problem. Some American company is suing us. I said, well, send me the lawsuit. When I got the lawsuit, I saw Kevin Prince as the patent firm. So I said, well, hell, who would be better to take my messy fishing light, the Coup takeover, and allow me to bring what I thought was the dream light of the century that I've kept
Okay.
close to my vest, but a guy that's already done a fishing light. But unfortunately, it was for a company that shut down my manufacturer, that basically stole their light. But they didn't patent it in the US, and this company was
Okay.
smart enough to do it. So that's how I found
So,
Kevin Prince.
so when you mean messy, Kevin was able to find the uniqueness, find your utility, even though you had some prior art, and actually get you the IP that you needed.
He did, but the journey was complex because what
Of
I
course.
was in was pretty complicated.
Okay. All
But
right.
I started off with a design patent with him. Of course, we came with the utility all at once.
Got
So,
it.
I mean, what Kevin did that talking to two other attorneys said that I had no chance of utility. And one said, well, you might have one in a million. There's no way you're going. It's like trying to find something novel about a toothbrush at this time.
Okay.
But Kevin Prince took this and he has a way of digesting things, looking at things. He's methodical. He really vetted me. He really got deep into what I was doing. He wanted all the details, and he's able to assemble a team based on that client's needs. And that's the
Nice.
difference. I wasn't like stuck with a team. No, he put together a
Mm.
team that could meet this moment with me.
Okay.
And as we got rejected 6 times, we were up at the batter's box. I mean, we're splitting the utility into 2 utilities. We're going function versus abstract theory. I mean, this guy was just throwing stuff and throwing stuff. We had one more chance, and he put together a couple patent examiners that said, you know what, Kevin? I think this is a case that I don't think the examiner gets what she does. I think we've lost him up there. So let's do a phone call. So Kevin orchestrated all this, put this all together. We got new blood on the team, and it comes back that the patent examiner didn't understand my patent, what the heck I was doing. Because it was so complicated, because I'm
Okay.
talking my theory, that I'm showing how that theory is presented in the innovation through the function side, the utility side. So it got messy. And it turned
Okay.
out that a couple of two sentences needed an and an if and a while versus white, and they approved it just like that. A
Yeah.
one in a million patent by Kevin Prince. It's
Wonderful.
impossible. But he
Wonderful.
but he never doubted it. He never lost hope. He never gave up. Ever. Ever.
Yeah. He's. I know him. He's
Yeah,
remarkable.
yeah.
Okay. So let's fast forward. You're kind of the leading expert in this at this point, I
Well,
would
I didn't
say.
ask for that. But
Well,
that's
I think you are. You're okay.
yeah,
Okay.
it ended up
And
there.
now you're selling where? You're selling at what retailers are carrying your product?
Well, we had to control the growth because the light is bigger than we are. So right now we're in Ace Hardware and True Value, but
Okay.
we have limited the stores because we want to make sure we can feed them.
Okay.
You don't want to get them on a high and say, sorry, we're out of product. You know what I'm saying? So we took 14 months off. We just finished this where we had to say, what's our brand? We have to think about that. What do we stand
Okay.
for? How do you put that in words? It took us 14 months hiring 14 people and hemorrhaging money I didn't have to be able to say, this is who we are. This is what we have. We did, wrapped the retail packaging around it. We wrapped the educational package around it. We didn't even get 3 minutes into our meeting, and they'll say, we'll take it. We'll put it in 4 stores because they said, you hurt me, Lee, because all the fishing lights we've been carrying, you killed our sales. But see, we weren't offering wholesale then. So they were very
Okay.
glad to do business with us.
They were happy you were there with the better product that actually was doing the job. So, did you
Yes.
start out to want to be an entrepreneur? I mean, was that your goal, or what was your
No,
goal at the very beginning of all
no,
this?
no. I'm 10 years of military. No, what it was, um, I have an analytical mind. I was a programmer for the county, so I wrote code, so I kind of got that kind of mind. Like
Okay.
something that's small to you is a big issue to me, you know? So the bottom line is I saw a sport that was so disorganized. There
Okay.
was no education. You had to believe folklore, and I wasn't growing. I was hemorrhaging gas money, car gas money,
Okay.
the cost to go, maintaining the boat, and I wasn't getting a return. And then I couldn't stand the fact that nobody would talk about it, and it really pissed me off when I would find everybody's doing better than me when I'm going back to the ramp. So there's something wrong with this.
Okay.
So when I decided to join an existing shrimping thing, which was more barbecue than shrimping, they didn't want any part of me because I was like representing this change thing. They weren't ready for it. They wanted to keep
Okay.
things as they were. And I'm saying, but no, your way doesn't work.
Okay.
So I went out there to say, I'm going to figure this out. Why am I inconsistent? What's going on? And when we got into the age of LEDs, I realized it was a
Okay.
buoyancy issue. That's it.
Okay. Well, did you imagine you'd be selling at retailers now and educating the whole industry?
I can tell you as an entrepreneur that I said this from the beginning, this light has to hold its own and pay its way.
Okay.
I will only go so deep into this. I did not want to bring in investors. I
Okay.
didn't want to rush out there and get big retail buildings and believe
Okay.
this is all going to come back. I made the light prove to me that it solved a problem and filled a need. It had to self-capitalize itself because
Okay.
if it couldn't, it dies
Where are you manufacturing right now at the moment?
in China.
Okay. How'd you navigate that world?
Alibaba.com.
Was it hard to do it?
Not at all. Actually, no, because it doesn't every broke ass person that doesn't have anything go out and look for a manufacturer? And people say, well, how are you going to afford it? I say, well, that's a good problem to have. If I get to that, I'll let you know how I handled it. I
Do
came
they
in this with no money.
do they
You
do
know,
do they do the complete package for you and they just ship it to you?
they can do that if you want to pay more.
Okay.
So we just said no. Keep our costs down. Just give us a black zipper bag, no writing. That's it. And we were just selling it out of the house, plain, no retail package. People didn't
Okay.
care. They just wanted the light.
You know, when you have a good product, it sells. People just want it, right?
Listen, let me talk about organic growth. We have
Right.
never done advertising. I don't
Yeah.
know how 40,000 people found me, and we're having a hard time weaning them off of us. Please
Okay.
go to retail. Please go to True Value. You know,
Well,
so we learned early on that what builds a business is not having a retail building, brick and mortar. It's that you're building relationships. You got to build your business organically. And we did. And they tell somebody, you come up in conversations, they keep talking about you. And we offered them free education. We didn't ask for it. I'll teach you and don't buy my light. Let's see if I can get your Cappy light to work. I mean, to be honest with you, you don't need to buy my
well,
products.
yeah, you know what's really amazing
You
about
know?
that strategy? They're learning from you, they trust you, and they
Yes,
value
yes,
what you're doing.
yes.
And when you have a good product, they're going to be there for you. Um,
Well, not
thank
in
you
the
so.
beginning, because when I put the computer chip in it, they're like, okay, that's one too many things here. Because I was up against an elderly population that struggled with cell phones. So the light was too far ahead when we released it in 2016. There was no interest in this computer one, the computer
Okay.
driven one. But now it's since become the top selling light.
Thank you so much for sharing your
It's my
story. I think
pleasure.
it's remarkable. I think you're remarkable too.
Oh, you're
Your
so sweet. Thank you.
your passion and the way you've explained all of it, and I've watched your videos. They're very educational.
Well, they're very outdated too. I've got to fix that. But now
Well,
the
they
retail
are, but
packaging
I
is done.
learned so much by watching them myself. I knew nothing about this industry, and very quickly it was like, hey, this is really interesting because the shrimp that you showed me that you're catching, they're like, and I love shrimp, by the way. They're big. Yeah, I
Can't get
know.
my other finger in there.
They're big. They're big. I know.
Yes,
All right.
they are.
Oh,
I mean, once you eat Florida shrimp out of our water, you can never eat any shrimp anywhere around the world. Can't
I
do it.
believe it.
Trust
All
me.
right, Stephen Key, inventRightTV, thank you for watching. Please subscribe down below so we can bring on some amazing guests like we just did now. Captain, thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
All right.